The small cafe in the heart of the city was unusually warm that evening, filled with the smell of freshly baked pastries and the low hum of conversation. Emily sat at a corner table, nervously adjusting the sleeves of her sweater. She had never been on a blind date before, but her friend Mia had begged her to go in her place. "He's a nice guy, single dad, just be kind and keep him company," Mia had said. Emily wasn't expecting much, maybe a polite chat, a cup of coffee, and then they'd part ways. She wasn't even dressed for romance, just her cozy knit sweater and jeans. But when the door opened and the man walked in, her breath caught slightly. He wasn't what she imagined, tall, with dark hair slightly tousled from the wind. His eyes scanned the room until they met hers. There was a softness in them, a kind of tired warmth, like someone who had seen too much but still held on to kindness. Two little faces peeked out from behind his legs, twins, no older than 5, each clutching a small toy. He smiled awkwardly as he reached the table. "Hi, you must be Emily," he said, his voice deep and warm. Emily's eyes flicked to the children. "And you must be," she trailed off, "Daniel," he finished for her. "These are my kids, Sophie and Liam. Sorry, I didn't have anyone to watch them today." Emily's heart softened instantly. She had imagined some smooth-talking man, maybe even someone trying too hard to impress her. But here was a man juggling fatherhood and trying to make time for a stranger over coffee. The twins climbed onto the seats beside him, shy but curious. Emily found herself laughing when Sophie offered her a bite of her cookie without hesitation. As they talked, Daniel shared little pieces of his life, how he had been raising the twins alone since their mother passed away, how his days were a constant juggle of work, parenting, and keeping everything together. He didn't complain, he simply spoke with a quiet strength. Emily felt drawn to him, not because he was flashy or overly charming, but because he was real. When the coffee cups were empty, Emily thought that would be the end of it. But Daniel asked if she would like to join them for a walk to the nearby park. She agreed without hesitation. At the park, she saw a different side of him, Daniel chasing the twins through the playground, his laughter carrying in the cool evening air. He pushed Sophie on the swings while holding Liam in his arms, and Emily couldn't help but notice the way his eyes lit up every time they looked at him. Hours slipped away without her noticing. It wasn't like a date, it was like stepping into someone's world and finding it unexpectedly warm and safe. Days later, Daniel texted her, asking if she'd like to meet again, this time without the twins. They met for dinner at a quiet restaurant. Emily noticed he still dressed simply, his watch worn, his jacket a little old. Everything about him screamed humble, hardworking, and grounded, but there was something else, something he didn't talk about. She could feel it. There were moments he'd glance away as if hiding a part of himself. It was on their 4th meeting that everything changed. They had just finished dinner when a sleek black car pulled up outside the restaurant. Emily assumed it was a customer's, but the driver stepped out, nodded to Daniel, and held the door open for him. Confused, Emily asked, "Is that your car?" Daniel hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Not exactly my car. It's one of them." "One of them," she repeated, puzzled. He sighed. "Emily, there's something I didn't tell you. I didn't want you to see me differently. I wanted you to know me for who I am, not what I have." Her brow furrowed. "Daniel, what are you talking about? I'm not just a regular guy with a 9-to-5. I own a number of companies. He paused as if reluctant to say the word, a billionaire." For a moment, she thought he was joking. But the driver's respectful stance, the luxury car, and the way Daniel carried himself all suddenly made sense. She stared at him. You let me think you were struggling." "I wasn't lying about my life with the twins," he said quietly. "I just live simply. I've seen too many people care only about my bank account. I didn't want that with you." Emily sat back, still processing. A part of her wanted to feel betrayed, but another part understood. His humility wasn't an act, he truly was the same man she'd met that day in the cafe, the man who played in the park with his kids, the man who listened when she spoke. The twins appeared a moment later, tumbling out of the car and running toward her. Sophie threw her arms around Emily's legs. "Daddy says you might be our friend forever," she said with a toothy grin. Emily laughed softly, her heart melting. She looked at Daniel, and he gave her a look that was both hopeful and vulnerable. In that moment, Emily realized the truth. Yes, he was a billionaire, but that wasn't the part that mattered. What mattered was the father who loved his children more than anything, the man who valued connection over status. From that day forward, their relationship grew not because of his wealth, but in spite of it. The twins adored her, Daniel respected and cherished her, and Emily found herself in a love story she had never expected when she walked into the cafe. Sometimes, she thought back to that first evening, how she had almost said no to replacing her friend. And every time, she felt grateful she hadn't. Because she hadn't just met a man, she had found a family.